The cost of a night out in the UK is just bonkers. If you go out on a regular basis or not, as the case may be in my case, but you're alarmed at the prices of pints of drinks, alcoholic drinks, soft drinks especially, right? You go to a pub and you wonder, how can these places stay in business? In fact, many of the pubs in the UK are just going out of business. They're shutting shop because they just can't afford to stay open. Restaurant prices and the quality of the food, a lot of in these places, is just not worth it. Especially you want to go out for a party, with your partner, with your wife, with your girlfriend, your husband, whatever it is, or especially if you want to go out as a family, yourself, your partner, one child, two children, whatever it is. It's almost impossible to justify even trying to go out for a bite to eat. Then you think, okay, well, maybe just do fast food rather. Then you think, well, actually, for a family, it gets really expensive. So then it kind of pushes you into really cheap fast food. And then you're looking at things like McDonald's, right? That that's why it's remained so popular, because it can be relatively inexpensive, but all of a sudden, many people can eat something, right? I'm not saying about the quality of the food. I'm not saying about it's healthy or whatever. I'm just talking about the expense. But you go to a lot of restaurants and you come away, paying 50, 60 quid, 100 quid. And you think, what have I eaten? What have we actually ate? And also the quality of the service, the quality of the food. It might be okay. It might even be good. It might be nice. But then you think, is it worth that money? Like going out to restaurants and everything's always been expensive, right? Especially if you're doing it on a regular basis. But I think I get the feeling that there's a lot of businesses there, whilst their costs have gone up, all the costs have gone up, I do feel that a lot of these places are also profiteering. And I'll give you a case in point here. So I went to somewhere the other day where I ordered a can of Diet Coke. They didn't have Coke Zero or Pepsi Max, which I normally drink as a soft drink. Coke Zero. It was £3. £3, which is what, $4.50 or something. £3 for a can of Coke, and I was gobsmacked. Now, many of you might say, "We just don't buy it." By the time you bought it, it was just, I'm thirsty, whatever. And it's the same with bottles of water and stuff like that. If I go for a night out and I go to a bar and I order a soft drink, for a pint, it could be about £3 or £4, for a soft drink, a Coke or something. You're talking a pint of beer, anywhere from £5.50, £6, £7, £8, £10. And then you're thinking, what the hell what is going on here? And then you wonder, hold on a minute, let's say with the Coke thing, well, especially if they're just putting it out of the tap, that's just a big gallon drum of syrup, which is mixed with carbonated water through a machine. That doesn't cost that much. It's gone up in price in terms of cost, but they've been massively profiteering over those few years. Cans of Coke, you can go to the local cash and carry, and each can would be, I think it's in the region of about 30 or 40 pence. Maybe let's say at the most 50 pence. So you could get 100% profit and sell those cans for a pound. Let's say you could do 200% profit and sell them for £1.50. But when you're talking £2, £2.50, £3 a can, then you're really taking the Michael here. That is just ludicrous. So then you wonder, are people going out on a regular basis, or are they considering this as a treat and they just don't go out as often? And that's what I would suggest is happening. People are just not going out as often, certainly, because no normal people can afford this. That's why pubs and restaurants are failing, because people are only going there as a treat. They might spend it because it's a one-off, but they certainly won't be doing it on a regular basis. Now, there are some places where you can get relatively cheaper drinks. You get a pint for £4.50, £5. But in the same bar, you get another drink that might cost you £7.50, and you're going, well, what's the difference here? They're both alcohol. They're both the same volume. They're both the same, one's this beer, one's that beer. Why the mass difference? You get a vodka and tonic or something like that. It costs you £7.50. I'm going, what? Tell me that price again. What? And these are relatively cheap bars. I might have you know. If you go to city bars, you're probably paying even more. You go to, clubs and things like that. Private clubs, especially where, more select clientele go, you're probably paying even more than that. So the prices in the UK, I believe, have just gone bonkers. And this is let alone what are the supermarkets, what are the prices for everything, by price of fuel, cost of living, energy prices, everything. In terms of just getting out there and enjoying yourself, it's almost become prohibitive in many ways. And people think, well, you go out. Young people go out. How can you afford to buy that? And they don't. Younger people, you go to the pubs on a Friday and Saturday night here. I did it a couple of weeks ago here where I live with my good lady, and I took her out for an evening out on the tiles. There's hardly anybody in the pubs. Nobody there. And the people that were there were of my age, probably a little bit younger. But, if there were younger people, they were in their 20s. They weren't younger than that. They weren't, early 20s or late teens or anything like that. So what are the kids doing? Well, they're all drinking at home. They're all having private parties for a lot of them. They're going out later. They're just going out later and just going straight to the clubs as opposed to going to the pubs. Or they're going to Wetherspoons where there are cheaper drinks and stuff like that. They're finding ways to drink, and have a social life, but not be able to pay those prices. Or if they're going out, they probably had a ton of drink beforehand, and then they just go and buy one drink and they just sip it there all night. But the same thing applies that the pubs are not getting the revenue. They're getting people in there, but nobody's drinking. And this is happening all over. Prices have gone up. Definitely. So something's got to be done about that, about source pricing. But at the same time, the costs that have been put onto the customer, in some cases, not in all cases, in some cases, I believe that this is just profiteering. And I believe that they're making a rob for their own back. And I believe that they feel that they have to charge this just to stay in business. Whereas sometimes you can sacrifice just a little bit of profit just to get people through the door. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos. But I'll tell you what, if there's a pub out there that is selling pints that only cost them £1.50, I don't know how much. Let me know how much a pint of beer, a unit pint of beer, costs a pub to get in and sell. How much is it? So how much profit are they making on a pint of beer or a glass of wine or, a shot of whiskey or whatever it is? I would say it's got to be more than 100%. It's got to be more than 100%. So you've got to ask your question, well, why are they trying to earn that much money on one sale? And then, yes, obviously you've got to pay for the overheads and the lighting and the, whatever it is, and the staff and all that kind of stuff. But then you kind of question, well, if it was sold a little bit cheaper, then you might sell more of it. And that's what Wetherspoons do. They sell a lot more of it, a lot more people going there for cheap drinks. It's no surprise that they might not have the best beers and everything, the best food, but I tell you what, it's turnover. They keep on getting people through the door. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. So if you like what I do here, keep on watching the videos. I'll catch you again. Bye now.